This is a weird one because this is a Canon 200D in the UK. It's a Canon SL2, Rebel SL2 I think it's called, everywhere else in the world. It's my first camera, it's my first DSLR camera, and this is a memorial video for this camera. I've had it 2-3 years, the whole YouTube channel has been built using this camera, but it's time, it's a sad day, it's time to let it go. I'm going to retire it to the big shelf over there, it's going to go into the background. It might come out, I might use it for other stuff, but yeah. This is almost a retrospective of this camera and what it can do for you should you still buy it in 2020. I think we should find out. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, you might want to subscribe at the bottom. We've got loads of cool stuff going on all the time, such as this video. So today, the Canon SL2, my first starter camera basically was I wanted to start a YouTube channel, and I did that with this. It's now been superseded. There's a Canon SL3 250D in the UK, I think it's called. But this camera itself is available for like nothing online nowadays. You can get them used, you can get them with the kit lens that this is not. This is not the kit lens, the 18 to 55mm. This is the STM version of the kit lens, which is a bit quieter. But I ended up getting this because the kit lens that came with it was a little bit disappointing, but just in terms of the noise it makes, I mean, the image quality is fine, but the noise that it makes was kind of a bit of a pain. So, yeah, I kind of wanted to reminisce a little bit. The camera itself I took a long time deliberating over whether or not I needed a DSLR, whether or not I needed a camcorder, a webcam might have been fine. All of these things came into consideration, and in the end I went for it. I just plumped for it just because you can do this with it, and this, if you are a YouTuber, is a huge deal. You might be tempted to buy a camera like the Canon G7X I think it's called, or a little point and shoot camera, and they're fine, they are really good cameras, a lot of them. But I didn't want that. I wanted the ability to grow into something and add things to it. So this is a kit lens, yeah, but we also have this guy, the Canon 50mm 1.8. It's a little nifty 50 is what it's called. Dirt cheap, amazing quality video. I will still use this, and I will still use this when it comes to taking some portrait shots, that kind of thing, because it's this lens, and if I can get a converter for this new camera, maybe I'll bring it across to this, because it's such a good little lens that you can add to it and then improve basically the quality of you can make something look amazing with very little knowledge, and that's what this YouTube channel's been built on. It was time to upgrade. I'm not going to talk about what I've upgraded to. I did that at the start of the video almost. You saw me lay it out. You will get some, I guess, future videos on that particular camera, but this is all about the SL2, the 200D. Yeah, so some good things about this camera. It gets you into the world of cameras, it gets you into the world of this interchangeable lens, this ability to record video, ability to take, in all honesty, stunning pictures. It will teach you if you want to, and for the first year I didn't, but after a year I kind of jumped into it. There's a thing on here, I don't know if I can get that in focus, I doubt that I can. I can't get it in focus. It's a little M, and it stands for manual. And when you first get a camera, this probably doesn't mean an awful lot to people who've had a camera in hand for years, who understand it, people who are professional, understand all this stuff. But for somebody like me who was just dipping his toes into the world of cameras, that M button represented terrifying new world. I had no idea what would happen when I flicked that to M, and what this camera did was basically give me the tools to understand what happens when I flick it to M. It taught me all about ISO, it taught me all about shutter speed, it taught me all about aperture, f-stops, all of this stuff that if I would have just kept using my iPhone, I never ever in a million years would have learned. But this was and still is, an amazing learning tool, and I think that I've just stuck this camera onto a tripod and started recording with it because of what this has taught me. It's such a complicated looking camera, I might as well just say it. It's a Sony A6400 and the menus are really well laid out, but there's a lot in them and a lot of stuff that you can't do with this camera. But the basics are exactly the same, and I know because of this camera, I understand what the numbers mean, I understand what the buttons do, I understand what the little icons mean, and there's so much that this camera has taught me about photography, videography, and yes, it is limited, and yes, there are some things that you just cannot do with it, but I just went on a little rant there, and I guess it's a sad day. It's a sad day for the channel, but it's also a good day for the channel. Because it means onwards and upwards as far as I'm concerned. This camera is the new workhorse for this channel, and hopefully it stands me in as good stead as this has. This camera is gonna, I might even use it as a second camera, I don't know what I'm gonna do with it yet. Just wanted to almost document this as, it's just a little, I love this camera. I love Canon, they're so easy to use. It's just like you put it in your hand and that's what a camera is. When you're younger and you kind of see people with cameras, I don't know why it just flicks on then, that was really interesting, I wonder why it did that. When you see people with cameras, you see a DSLR and usually it's Canon, Nikon maybe, but most of the time it's a DSLR and it's Canon. And Canon is the brand that got me into photography. So I don't even know if this is a helpful video to anyone. I don't even think it's a particularly entertaining video to anyone, to be honest with you, but I just wanted to come onto my channel and kind of say, as an idiot who didn't understand anything about photography, didn't understand anything about videography, I was able to put this in my hand, start a YouTube channel, start an Instagram, take some pictures that people seem to like. People are impressed by pictures that have come out of this camera, and this camera is cheap. This camera is probably, I'm gonna, let me check right now. Don't go anywhere. So you can get this camera, I did do a little check there, you can get this camera in 2020 for £350. That's just for the body, so you won't get this, which is a cool little lens, but these are probably, I think I saw them going for about 60 or 70 at the time. Not at the time, sorry, right now. So if you want a foot in the door for photography, with interchangeable lenses, with a camera that's gonna grow with you to a point, let's mention a con here. The reason that I got a new camera is because I've outgrown this camera. I mean, you can make any camera do what you want it to do, but there's some things on here that are a little bit limiting, especially in video options, so it made sense for me to, as a budding videographer and photographer, it made sense for me to invest in something a little bit different. I did change ecosystem purely on the basis that there were a few lenses that I really like the look of on the Sony, so that's why I went Sony. But if you buy this, you will get a foot in the door of the Canon EF ecosystem, which is, there's a million lenses and they're all fairly affordable. This is the nifty 50 that you can just stick on here and you will have, I mean, I can drop in a bit of footage now of some Canon nifty 50 footage. It looks awesome and it is a really, really affordable way to get a really, really quick lens. There's very few cons with a camera like this. There's a newer version of it that shoots in 4K and has some slightly different features. As far as DSLRs go, this is the last DSLR I'll own, just on the basis that it's big, it's bulky. I don't need a DSLR, and I like the lightness of a mirrorless camera. I like the almost innocuousness, the smallness, the travelability, which many of those things I just said weren't words, but yeah, I like the fact that you can just chuck it in a bag with a tiny lens, and by comparison, so you're going to get that versus that, and look at the size of difference in that there. So that is kind of, yeah, I wanted something a little bit smaller, and that's what I've ended up with. So for me, I've outgrown it. You haven't necessarily. If you just start in this journey of learning how to use cameras and learning how to make videos, how to shoot photos, and basically you want something that's going to stand you in good stead going forward, then I absolutely wouldn't invest a lot of money in buying a brand new, all singing, all dancing, get a used SL2 200D or something similar, because you can do a lot with very little, and it isn't about the camera at the end of the day, it's about the person holding the camera and what you can do with it and what your sort of creative eye draws you to. So I'm going to miss this camera. You're probably not going to miss it, because if you watch this channel regularly, you'll see it's not great when it comes to image quality, and the sound is kind of weird a little bit sometimes because the preamp in here is rubbish. But as a tool for starting out, you can make some pretty cool stuff with this, and I'm going to be sad to see it go. So that's the end of this video, I think. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like if you did like it. Indeed, if this video was helpful to you. Don't forget to subscribe if that's something you're into, and we're on Instagram. It's at House of Hoot on Instagram. So if you want to go there and yeah, see some of the stuff that at the moment everything on there has been taken on this camera. That's going to change soon, obviously, because of this new one. But yeah, buy SL2, buy 200D. You have been beautiful. Thanks for watching.